We are hopeful for sure as well that players will find lots of reason to come back to this game. Here, if, for example, to make cripplingly difficult decisions such as whether Rookie's mustache suits him or not.
I love it.
All right. It looks fine, man. Go with it, Rookie. So he appreciates the vote of confidence there. Helps give him a little more...
If you say you're not feeling it, does he like shave it, but then the next time you see him?
As a matter of fact, yes, he does.
That's hilarious.
Yeah.
Hello, everyone. Welcome back to PlayStation Underground. Today's a very special day for me. I'm excited for this one. I'm joined by Greg Kasavin from Supergiant Games.
Hey.
Thanks for being here.
Absolutely. Glad to be here.
We're here to play Pyre.
Yes, we are.
Which comes out very soon. Let's dive straight in.
Let's indeed. We're going to start the campaign. Just starts right off.
Already just incredibly beautiful.
Thank you. That is the work of our wonderful art team of 3. Yeah, we're a small studio based in San Francisco.
The whole art team is 3 people?
Yeah, the whole team is 12 people. So,
wow.
So our art team is an appreciable chunk of our entire company. But yeah, we Supergiant is best known for Transistor and Bastion, our previous 2 games. This is our 3rd game. It's our biggest game ever. It's turned out to be that way. Now that it's done, I can say such things with certainty. But yeah, we kind of start you right off. You discover here that you are an exile sent to this land called the Downside to live out your remaining days.
Uplifting.
Yes, our games have such a uplifting quality. It's a narrative. Our games have always had a big narrative component. This one is no exception in that regard, and you're initially meeting some of these characters. You don't know who they are. You don't know why they're wearing these weird masks and robes. They're kind of debating about what to do about you. You can interact with the game in these various ways, and choose the gender with which these characters refer to you and things of that nature.
That's a really cool way of handling that.
Thanks. Yeah, we like to. Our previous games, have really heavily relied on voiceover for the narrative. In this game, we wanted to play with text, which is a more traditional means of delivering stories in games, but we wanted to do interesting stuff with it as well, and that involves doing it. We're just meeting our friend Hedwin here. We'll discover his name in a second.
Do you feel like... Oh, yeah, there we go.
Yeah, so we have these, this ability to kind of like get reference material at any point in the game just by
kind of like an
things.
interactive glossary as you're
exactly.
going through. Yeah, cool. Do you feel like working more with written text rather than writing something as to be read or narrated? Do you feel like that's affected your writing style when you're putting all this together?
Absolutely. I mean, this game, a big part of the reason we wanted to make this game was to make a game with just a bigger cast of characters. I've never been able to write dialogue between characters for our games, essentially because they've relied so heavily on narration. And here we just have, it was really fun to work on, of just having a big cast of characters coming up with what are all the different relationships and all the different combinations. How would Rookie and Jodariel here interact versus how would Rookie and Hedwin, every combination having some of those interactions come into play, and that's made possible by having a narrative in this way. So he's asking if we can read. No way. The reading turns out to be kind of a dangerous thing in this world. But they know we're full of it, and because that's why they found us there in the Downside, and they need us to read something for them. We can kind of poke around in their wagon here for a little bit. If we so choose.
What if it was just like a phone book?
Yeah, well, then it would be a much shorter game. Or actually, it'd be potentially long, depending on how you had to interact with the phone book. But here's a strange book.
I see that you were messing with some of the spider webs in the corners and stuff. That's cool.
You'll find, not to get too far ahead of ourselves, but this wagon sort of becomes your home base in the game. But first, we're discovering this artifact called the Book of Rights, and we learn here that despite the implication that we're in this land that is inescapable, there is a way to be free from it again. And these characters seem to know something about it, but they can't read the book. They need you for that. The book has mystical properties, and we'll discover some of them now.
I see that cool star design that's in the logo of the game and everything. That's pretty prominent. That's on the cover of the book. I've seen it. It was on one of the pages there.
You'll see it prominently here as well.
Tamper with forbidden knowledge? So soon after your sentence into exile. 'Tis true what the book says. You can be free again. Perhaps not you yourself, but someone worthy of the privilege. You witness now the path toward salvation. You witness the rights, the one way to return to glory. Though in your case, I hardly think it possible. Yet, by the grace of the scribes, it is my duty to inform you anyhow.
So, that is the voice, rather mysterious character. Our characters are here now in their masks and raiments, and they're discovering something called the Rites. The Rites is this mystic ritual competition through which the worthiest exiles can be free from the downside, but in order to be free, they need to prevail over their adversaries, and here we're going to learn how to conduct the rites for the first time. So this is all you know, we're just learning here, so it's pretty low key.
Yeah, sure. Well, we've seen some multiplayer action, and we've seen how crazy this can get.
Yes, it absolutely picks up as soon as you meet your adversaries, who also very much want their freedom. So a big thing in Pyre is you get into these situations where you're up, all the adversaries that you're up against are their own unique characters who also want to be free. So you get into some fun situations as a result of that. We wanted this big cast of characters with kind of recurring bad guys where they'll remember what happened the last time you encounter them and stuff like that.
Yeah.
But
And
so
there's quite the cast of characters throughout the course of this game, too.
Yeah, absolutely. Like our previous games had Bastion and Transistor have these relatively compact stories. With very few kind of very focused on one or two principal characters, whereas in Pyre it's a multi-character game, and kind of dealing with the different characters in your group is a big part of the experience, as well as interacting with all the different adversaries who you'll face.
Oh, yeah.
So
yeah, like you make an interesting point. Bastion and Transistor felt a lot more isolated, felt very lonely. But this has, like we said, a very diverse cast of characters. Has that been a challenge from a studio perspective, trying to like attack it from that angle? Yeah,
it's been like a challenge for sure, just because it's resulted in a bigger game. But it's like the main reason we wanted to make this game really is just having especially coming from Transistor, where we wanted to make a game with this kind of like operatic feel to it. It's a pretty all of our games, I think, have like a mixed sort of tone to them. They have happy parts, they have sad parts, stuff in the middle. Transistor has like a darkness to it. And despite in this game, despite it starting off in this sort of dark time where you've been exiled, it's really comes down to you on almost like a fantasy road trip with your exile pals, this kind of gang of misfits that you get to meet. And we really wanted a lot of it to be about the kinship between these characters and how they have to work together to achieve their goals.
Nice.
So it's I think players will, I hope they'll be kind of very pleasantly surprised by how some of that plays out. It's definitely different from our previous games, but it lends itself to, like, we wanted to put these characters in kind of close quarters together on this big journey together, where they really get to know each other quite well through the course of this experience that they have to all participate in.
Yeah, that's awesome. So I saw you pulling off that timed like pulse blast with your aura there. How reliably can you pull off that perfect timing shot?
I can do it pretty reliably. But it's one of those things. Yeah, the casting your aura. This game is all about making, when you're conducting the rites, it's all about like making the right decision at the right time. Just because you could time your attacks kind of just right, it doesn't mean you're using them at the best possible time. So we think there's a lot of a big like kind of skill ceiling to this game, which is really revealed in the versus mode when you play against other players. In the campaign, the difficulty is highly flexible. You can adjust the difficulty just at any point, and then there are also systems within the campaign where you can make the game more challenging if you want it to be. And on top of that, one of the really I think really unique things about this game is that there's no game over concept in Pyre. Whether you prevail or you fail in a given one of these rites, the story moves forward. So we can, even if you get into the toughest encounter in the world, if you fail it, the story's going to keep going, and you're going to experience the consequences of that. And the game encourages players to be accepting of that, because that's part of what shapes your unique story through this game. And kind of no two players are going to have the same experience when playing this game, just based on how it all branches out and some of the decisions that come up.
Does that is there the concept of like a good ending and a bad ending?
It's not. Yeah. I without giving too much away, there is unending and wow. How do I even express this? No, I would not say that there's a good ending and a bad ending.
It's not about something where if somebody loses a match, they're going to feel like they want to go back and reload their save and try to get it.
I wouldn't say they wouldn't want to do that, but it's really important to us that it feel personal. So it's really going to be up to you how you kind of how you take some of those things. That's really what the game, the kind of experience that the game is meant to provide. So in answer to your question, you're going to get your ending. When you finish this game, it's not about like, oh, I got the bad ending or the good ending. It's the ending that's true to the experience that you had is kind of what we were hoping for. You'll see what I mean about that.
I see. We're gonna watch the ending, right?
Yeah. No, it's gonna take us a while to get there, so we're not gonna get there here. But here we're just being introduced to some of the overworld travel. Having experienced the rites, we're now trying to get to the first real rite before it takes place. And now we're traveling in this wagon. We're in this relatively verdant region of the downside, and we can choose kind of to side with one character or the other.
Oh, and depending on which characters are in your caravan, it'll affect the things that you can do at these different places.
That's right. Yeah, and they'll each have kind of a different point of view about where to go, what will happen if you take that route.
I see.
So we decided to side with Ruki in this case. He seems to know his way. Well, Jodariel over there certainly seems to know her way around as well, but Ruki insists that he has a point of contact here who's going to give him something. And
I know a guy.
Yeah, exactly. Ruki knows a guy. So he got us this plain parcel, surely containing things that
glorious
are legal.
Riches.
Yes. So we'll stash that away for later, and make our way to this location called the Ridge of Goal, where, according to this mystical book, the rites are going to soon commence. But we'll see what that means, because what we experienced before was kind of a vision of the rites through the book, but now it's supposedly the real deal. We could just dive right into it, but before we do that, we can explore various things in our wagon. There are these things, these objects that become available. We know that, Hedwyn is off browsing the book. You could just sort of find out the status of your characters at any given time. They all have their different artifacts. You can review all the kind of RPG type stuff. You can read all about your characters, learn about their stats, and so on. There's the Book of Rites itself, which you start to decipher new chapters of it as you go through the game.
That's a beautiful 3D animation, by the way, on that book. Can you do that one more time?
Yes.
Oh, that looks so cool.
Yeah, so you start to uncover this book and learn about why this artifact is so important to this world. And of course, you can interact with some of your buddies here. They're kind of talking about the decision that you made. This incredibly tense decision of siding with Ruki over Jodariel, but they respond to that differently, of course. But they're good with it. They're okay with what you.
They respect your decision.
Yes, they exactly. Jodariel's not going to hold it against you that you happen to go with Ruki on that one. So now it is nightfall, and but nothing seems to be happening, and they're starting to get a little concerned. But of course, it wouldn't be much of a game if nothing happened. And soon the stars begin to align.
Oh, there's that symbol. Okay.
Yes.
Nice.
And we will dive in here to our first real right and meet our first real adversaries and see what happens.
Get some more of that glorious narration by
Yes, that's
one
right.
Logan Cunningham.
Yeah, Logan Cunningham, the voice of both Transistor and Bastion, in a very different role here.
It wouldn't be a Supergiant game without him.
That's right.
And your triumvirate is ready.
I still don't believe it's him.
Yeah, Logan does this voice. He plays multiple characters in this game.
Putting him to work.
Absolutely, putting all of us to work. In addition to this character that you hear very prominently here, we have this whole fictitious language that we created for the game. You hear the other characters speaking it.
Yeah, I was going to ask about that.
Yeah, so Logan also provides the voice of the character we'll meet here momentarily. This character here.
Ah, okay.
That is also Logan's voice, as a matter of fact.
So did you write this language? Was that you?
Yeah,
or
I wrote this language.
Is it like, did you put a ton of thought into it, or did you just kind of like throw some sounds together?
I would sooner go with the former. It was a pretty big part of this project.
Wow.
Yeah, there's a whole, it's a whole, you know.
Are you able to speak it fluently?
It wasn't meant to do that. I'm short of being able to speak it fluently.
It's like
but
Latin.
It is like Latin. In
yeah.
fact, Latin is one of the influences on it.
Okay.
But yeah, it is definitely. We wrote real lines for it, and there are thousands and thousands of lines in this language because we found even though the story presentation heavily uses text. We found that giving these characters a voice really brought out their personalities a lot.
Yeah.
So here, Lendl is trying to march in and extinguish our pyre, but we're not going to let him do that.
Looks like three of the same character.
They're all these kind of human characters. That's Lendl and his cohorts there.
So like the same archetype.
Yeah, that's right. Each of the different kind of races in the world of Pyre is important to the story and the world of the game. You'll learn more about that, as part of the story as to kind of, and you'll kind of end up meeting characters of a variety of these different races or archetypes, however you want to put them. But yeah, the earlier on with this triumvirate we're facing called the Accusers, they're kind of pretty standard, just these kind of human dudes. And he's distracted there. He was busy trying to take out Rookie there while I got in and
seizing the opportunity.
Yeah. So now he's mad.
Hear me, accusers.
Yeah, they're gonna try some trick here, but so they
Do any idea what that Lendl did to deserve his exile?
Oh, so
they're
the
trying
narrator is kind of like giving us some little bits of the story in the middle of the match here, it looks
Yeah.
like.
And that was our opportunity to learn about how, in addition to plunging into the pyre, just kind of running in with the orb, you can fling the orb as well, which has certain advantages.
Looks like you got fewer points for it, or was it more
you have
points?
to charge it up. You'll see a number start to kind of tick up. So it takes some setup time, but the really big advantage on it is that your character isn't banished for the following round, whereas normally you're kind of down a character.
Nice jump.
After dousing their flame.
Nice. I see potential for some esports stuff here. Like, I remember seeing people playing this at PSX, and they were going wild playing it at your booth. Yeah,
it was awesome to see. We think the versus mode has a ton of potential for sure. This style of this is essentially the battle system in Pyre. A lot of RPGs have their own unique battle system. This is ours. And we wanted it to be a deep and interesting and an exciting system. So we spent so much of development getting that system to feel really interesting. So here, after we conducted the rite, our characters gain enlightenment, which is essentially experience.
Gotcha.
Joe Dariel has just risen in rank as a result of gaining enlightenment. And here is one of the ways in which you can customize your character. Since she's a demon, she has access to these certain masteries. So here the initial choice is she can perform her big like lunging jump twice in a row, or she can instantly regain all her stamina whenever she banishes.
So you've got all these different characters, and each of them has a skill tree.
Yeah, or multiple skill trees even,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
And then in addition to that, they have their own attributes up here, hope and quickness and so on.
Wow.
They have what's called they can equip talismans or special items to give them additional powers as well. And very early on in the game, you have to start making choices around which characters to even bring into a right. So the different combination of characters that you put into the field really affects the gameplay as well. So we wanted there to be a lot of richness around those choices that you're making. Which characters you put together, affects both the story and the gameplay, all kinds of stuff like that. And so for us, it's kind of there's so much richness that comes out of all those different combinations.
Yeah. I remember in Transistor, you had all this flexibility in the battle system as well, but you could kind of swap stuff out on the fly. Is it going to be similar here, or are you talking about more lasting decisions in this case?
It's kind of a combination of the two. We want players to feel free to experiment, so we don't like to lock players out of stuff completely, but we want in this game particularly, we want there to be a sense of permanence to some of your decisions as well. You'll see what I mean about that.
Okay, cool.
But here, Hedwin is asking, we've managed to conduct this first right. We'll ask him why he was exiled.
Lots of branching dialogue options and everything.
Yeah, like kind of, it's kind of a mix. We want this game to move quickly for a game that has, for a narrative-rich game. So you're not going to get stuck, hours and hours worth of, like, if you really want to quickly get to your next right, you can do that. A lot of the narrative is like kind of optional along the way, which is a technique that we employed similarly in games like Transistor and Bastion, where we want for players to be able to get invested in the story if that's what they really care about.
Yeah. You have said that this is the biggest game you guys have worked on. Is it? Because I will say that that's the only thing I was a little disappointed by in your previous games, is the fact that they were over so quickly. I was able to blast through them, and I played them a couple times, but it's there's a start and there's an end, and then okay, I want more Supergiant now. So how are we looking at a longer game than Bastion and Transistor?
That I can definitely say for sure. In terms of like total number of hours, that's always really hard for me to answer, because we do design our games to have a lot of optional content, but like it is, at this point, now that it's done, we can safely say it's substantially longer.
Nice. It seems like the kind of thing you would want to replay multiple times too.
That part, we are hopeful for sure as well that players will find lots of reason to come back to this game. Here, for example, to make cripplingly difficult decisions such as whether Rookie's mustache suits him or not. So, I don't know. What do you say? What do you say about the mustache?
I love it.
All right. It looks fine, man. Go with it, Rookie. So he appreciates the vote of confidence there. Helps give him a little more...
If you say you're not feeling it, does he shave it, but then the next time you see him?
As a matter of fact, yes, he does.
That's hilarious.
Yeah. So that's, it's while it's I think a funny moment, it's also an important moment for us, where it's just kind of suggestive of the kind of interactions you can have
Nice.
with character. Like, not every interaction that you have with characters is the most end of the world, severe thing on the planet. We want for there to be situations where you just get closer to these characters and feel like they're your friends.
I love how the caravan just kind of jumped off the edge.
Yeah.
There.
Take the quick route.
So before we continue our journey here, before we give too much away, I think maybe we should let folks discover what happens next in Pyre for themselves when the game launches on July 25th.
Yep.
Is there anything else that you wanted to say to fans out there before we let you go, before the game comes out?
Yeah, I would just say we really, really appreciate the support that folks have shown us. We're still here because of the tremendous support that Bastion and Transistor got from folks out there. So for those of you who enjoyed those games, or if you haven't played them also, we hope you'll find Pyre to be surprising and exciting and just kind of the kind of game that leaves a lasting impression on you in a positive way, I hope, long after you're finished playing. That's always the kind of game we want to make, no matter what form it takes. So we're really, really excited to see what folks think about this one.
Well said. Thank you
Thanks.
very much, Greg. That is Pyre coming to PlayStation 4 July 25th. Thank you for watching, and we'll see you next time.
PlayStation